From the director of The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Hello? Am I dead?
Hiya, boss.
Record. Oh, I just remembered a trivia fact I have to tell you about this movie. I'll save it because it's later, but it is so fucking funny.
I don't know if I want to hear it.
No, you will.
Okay. Okay. I'm awake. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Failed Blockbusters Retrospective here on the Waffle Press Podcast, Season 2. Matt, my co-host, how are we doing in the season?
I am the co-host, Matt, and things are going great.
Actually, yeah, pacing-wise, I think we're still ahead of the curve. So
we're going up. Nothing can stop us.
Yeah, we're recording this later than the next couple episodes you're about to hear. So if we cover any familiar ground in weird in weird order, just roll with the punches. Okay, Matt and I tried to find a director's commentary for this movie because of our good friend Dan Doherty. And
Dan Doherty said the director's commentary would be very insightful into the production of the movie we are here to discuss today.
Yes, the movie is Monkey Bone, directed by Henry Selick, starring Brendan Fraser. Chris Kattan is on the poster. He's not in it until the significant later part of the film. Mm-hmm. But
it's so weird that there was a time where it's like we have to put Kattan on the poster. Like we gotta sell this fucking movie. Cause he was like he was one of the breakout guys from fucking SNL at the time.
Yeah, what happened?
They didn't know he did Corky Romano. Which is also, I think he kind of had like a bit of a, I don't want to tell, but like there's stories of people not liking him from SNL, and him and like Norm didn't get along, but Norm seems to not got along with anyone, and then he just ends up in like the weird like direct to video circuit. And yeah, I don't really know. But like, I'll say this: Monkey Bone might be the only movie from his peak that uses him well, which is saying something.
I would agree. Do you know what other film he was in?
A Night at the Roxbury?
I was going to say Food Fight, but yes.
Oh, was he in Food Fight?
He's in Food Fight.
Oh my god, there's a lot of people in Food Fight.
Yeah, the fucking blackmail movie. Every once in a while you get a movie where people were clearly blackmailed into doing. It's like Food Fight, Movie 43. Mm-hmm. I met this old couple on the bus one time, and they were like, "Oh man, you like movies?" I forget what it was, but they were just like, they started a conversation with me. They were nice. They weren't weird. Maybe they were, but they weren't weird to me. And they were like just having conversations like, "Oh, you look like a guy who likes movies." I was like, "I do like movies." They're like, "Oh, you gotta watch movie 43, man. It's crazy." And they're the only people on planet Earth who have ever recommended movie 43 to anyone else.
There's gotta be a weird, narrow audience for that thing.
Yeah, people don't like blackmail.
Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna challenge you though. Are we sure Food Fight was blackmail?
No.
Because here's the thing, like, I think that's one of those movies where people go like, it's a cartoon, how bad could it be? Like, they're gonna pay me to come into a booth for 1 week? I can do that. And then, like, they don't realize what is being built, you know? Like,
I'm sure other people have talked about it, but the budget, the alleged budget for Food Fight is over $45 million.
Yes.
Up to $65 million. That's why I consider it blackmail.
But it was also a movie where, like, the film got stolen at a certain point. Like the hard drives the film was being made on got stolen. What that means is up for interpretation. But, yeah, it's weird to have a movie where someone just admits that something got stolen. And then, like, by the time it comes out, like, half the people in it aren't relevant anymore. You know? Like, there's a movie I guess we could do one of these days.
No, we're not talking about
We're gonna have to do Food Fight.
There's absolutely no way we're doing Food Fight.
We might have to. There's a reference to the Clive Barker film Nightbreed in Food Fight.
That's not true.
It is true. I couldn't explain it to you if I wanted to.
Well, we're here to talk about Monkey Bone.
Yes.
That's my segue. Let's just fucking do it.
We're
From the
monkey
director of The
boning.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
We're monkey boning it up in here.
It's based on something? What the fuck?
All right, so without giving away my opinions on Monkey Bone, no movie have I wanted to figure out more than Monkey Bone in recent memory. So it is based on a graphic novel called Darktown, and graphic novel should be in massive quotes. Because by graphic novel, they mean one issue of a comic that ends on a cliffhanger and was never followed up.
What?
Yeah, that was published in like 95. It's about a puppeteer who ends up in a coma and is tormented by like other puppets in like a nightmare world. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Other than that very, very vague setup, nothing in Darktown appears in Monkey Bone. So I read it, I got nothing out of it. Monkey Bone is not in the comic. It appears to be an invention of Sam Hamm, who we have talked about on the show.
That's correct, because Sam Hamm, for those that remember, is the writer of the 1989 Tim Burton Batman, the one that's less good than the follow-up Batman Returns, which he only got story by credit for.
And he was hot in Hollywood for a little bit. When it comes to a crashing end at Monkey Bone, it looks like.
No, he did an episode of Masters of Horror. He wrote an episode.
That's not being in Hollywood, though.
I know. It's all the old geezers going for one last ride and doing really good work, mostly.
Yes. Really good work done by people not named John Landis.
Yeah. And then Takashi Miike's episode, everyone was like, you can't fucking show this to the public.
It's on cable television, and no one will really complain, but we can't air this.
Yeah. The episode I have not seen yet, still.
Which is saying a lot for a Takashi Miike film.
he does the killer.
Mm-hmm. What was it? All right,
Takashi Miike's Monkey Bone. Maybe.
But anyway, Sam Hamm, a lot of the ideas for this movie seem to come from him. But I could not find a through line as to what was going on here. Henry Selick offered some, but very little explanation on the commentary for this movie. Monkey Bone. It's about 92 minutes and was released in 2001.
Do you remember any of the marketing for this?
I do. I have very vivid memories of the marketing, which is probably the only reason why I really know the movie. And it was one of those movies that, like, in the era of Blockbuster, I remember there being a lot of Monkey Bone posters at Blockbuster. I think someone somewhere was hoping it would turn into a cult hit. And it has maybe happened. I know some people really like this movie. I'm not even trying to implicate Dan Doherty there.
I am. Implicate sounds like it's a negative thing. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying,
Here's something. Back in the Tumblr days, did you ever have a Tumblr?
I definitely did have a Tumblr.
Yeah, and like I felt there was a lot of great art on Tumblr back in the day. I think people forget that. People kind of remember Tumblr for being like a weird drama place, and like it was more just a great place to share art. Twitter's really bad at that. If you sometimes you'd find artists, and there were a lot of artists out there that seemed really, really, really fixated on the Miss Kitty character from this film.
You know what? That makes perfect sense.
And it was an awakening for a lot of people, it seems like. Because someone's... You know what? I bet you this is 100% a film. You see a movie titled Monkey Bone, and if you don't pay attention that it's R-rated, I could see a lot of parents accidentally renting this movie for children. And then a lot of wires are going to get crossed in those brains that day. Because I mean, I remember the marketing, and I remember going like, "This looks like a kids' film, but it's rated R." So I don't know what the fuck's going on here.
Mm-hmm. I did not know it was rated R.
Oh, is it PG? It might be PG-13.
Yeah, I thought it
reason
got whittled down a little bit.
Okay, no, it's PG-13. All right, but still, like, you know, what year is this? 2001. I'm not
2001.
really allowed to watch PG-13 movies.
No, so here's the thing. I remember being really excited because I had just gotten into The Mummy, right? Brendan Fraser's my boy. Brendan Fraser is all of our boy now.
Yeah, but it is weird to think about how omnipresent Brendan Fraser was for a bit.
Yeah.
Like, that, like, the joke in a movie about Hollywood would be like, we tried to get Brendan Fraser, but he was busy. Like,
Yeah.
like, that was it for a little bit.
Yeah, or like the joke in Looney Tunes Back in Action. He's like, oh, I did all the stunts in those Mummy movies, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's fucking hilarious.
And it's, you know, we've come to find out, like, a lot of why his career, like, suddenly just stopped.
Yeah, it's
which is
fucking
really, really a shame.
bullshit.
Yeah, really awful Hollywood shit. But it is so weird that, like, for that 99 to, like, 2003, he was fucking everywhere. Right? Like, and that's kind of crazy to think about. I don't know, it's just, thinking about it now, it's just wild.
Yeah, a better time, perhaps.
Maybe.
2001,
A lot of
never
those-
mind, I forgot.
A lot of those movies don't hold up.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
It's like-
Don't tread on our classic American Pie trilogy.
Like I said, a lot of those movies don't hold up. But I was more talking about, like, Brendan Fraser's filmography. Like, we all love The Mummy. Like, The Mummy's great. The Mummy Returns is, like, shockingly bad. It's a shocking step down.
But it's got a killer Alan Silvestri score. I was just listening to it
Well,
again.
yeah,
I
but
don't
I mean,
remember
that-
why that came up in my brain, but I was, and it's a good score. I'll go to bat for that.
But that was back in the day when, like, when a sequel got, like, plussed up with the budget, like, a lot of it would be like, just throw it at the score. Like, a lot of sequels inexplicably have great scores. Like, fucking Bedazzled. Do you remember Bedazzled?
I do. I own that on DVD.
Harold Ramis movie.
Harold Ramis directed that?
Yeah, it's a remake.
Oh, I know that, yeah. I never saw the
Yeah.
original. Am I missing out?
It's okay.
Okay.
It's kind of like, I think the Bedazzled thing has been done so many times, and a lot of people are just into it because Raquel Welch shows up in it and is, like, super sexy. But hey, that was the 60s.
But I mean, you know, Elizabeth Hurley's in the new one, so
Yeah, well, she plays the devil in the new one.
I'm familiar.
It honestly feels like it should be sexier than it ends up being.
No, that's true. That's on the direction. R.I.P. Harold Ramis.
It feels like they were like fucking slam dunk with that, and then the movie was kind of like, eh. But Dudley Do-Right, the Dudley Do-Right movie. Did you ever see that?
I did not.
In that weird era where it's like, let's take everything from the Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and try to make a movie out of it. Because like that, and like Rocky and Bullwinkle's like the next year. Alfred Molina played Snidely Whiplash in a truly committed performance.
He is always committed.
Yes. You know
That's
who
the
is
thing.
also is 100% committed is fucking Brendan Fraser. I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah.
like he 100% could have phoned it in for Monkey Bone.
Mm-hmm.
He really could have, and he didn't, and he's there for it, and God bless him.
Yeah, no, he's given like a real like empathetic performance in this.
Yes.
Where he's kind of just trudging through life the first quarter of the film,
But
and you can just,
also,
like, even his body language is like it was really impressive.
When he gets to wild out, when he's possessed by Monkey Bone, he's also like 100% committed to that as well.
Yeah, and not in a way like it's over the top, but not in a way that's like inauthentic. You know, like think of that's just a stab in the dark here. Jared Leto's Joker, you know, and it's like whoa, so wacky and crazy. You know, if he's on talk shows saying like, you know, if the Joker was here, he'd slit your throat and laugh about it. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? I loved you in House of Gucci. Go to prison now.
I like how he's like, I locked myself in a room to get to the heart of the Joker. He thinks murder is funny. Like, yeah, I watched the cartoon when I was a kid. I picked up on that. Like,
Yeah, you know what? Don't watch his Joker and Suicide Squad. Just watch House of Gucci and be like, where did this come from? And you're like, oh, Ridley Scott is a good director and can guide acting, even from bad people.
you're gonna use House of Gucci as an example that Ridley Scott's a good director.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's not great. It's pretty good.
It's a wild movie.
It's just the performances are really entertaining.
Yeah.
I got some issues with his actual direction in that movie, but the performances are like.
I guess his
unbelievable to
energy
watch.
was just sapped by the performances.
maybe maybe his energy went to The Last Duel, which is like fucking amazing. But
Yeah, a movie that I loved, but also like can't recommend to anyone.
yeah,
I'm like, oh, do you want to see this movie? It's The Last Duel. It's like a medieval night film, and then you don't need to see it.
let's see what else did Brendan Fraser do for a while there, because the mid 2000s. All right, he's in Crash, unfortunately.
He disappears, and then like there's like a bit of surprise when he pops up in Journey to the Center of the Earth in 2008. Like,
That's
there's a
right.
weird gap, and then they also tried to bring the Mummy back. That's weird. 2008 is this weird like last hurrah, where it's Journey to the Center of the Earth, The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, which is actually like an okay movie.
Do you like it more than the second one?
I do, but I really hate that second one.
I kind of admire it more than the second one too.
Yeah,
Don't tell anyone.
Well, here's the thing: The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor comes with a really good idea of just like, let's just get different mummies from around the world for each movie.
Yeah, no, that movie. Speaking of things that should have been a slam dunk, should have been a slam dunk. But
Yeah,
it's
I don't
fucking
know
directed
why.
by Rob Cohen, who should also be in prison.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forget Rob Cohen takes over that one. I forgot that's what happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then what's her name's not in it either.
yeah. So those two things like kind of kneecap it.
Yeah.
But the
I always
idea of
forget
like
that.
different mummies from different like cultures is a really good one.
Yeah. Like an Aztec mummy totally would be the next one.
Yeah, that was the end credit thing. Do you remember that? It's like the end.
Oh,
of, like,
I haven't. You know what? I haven't seen it like since it came out.
Okay,
so-
yeah. Jonathan, like, after, like, the big, like, hurrah, the end party, all the family and friends are together, Jonathan heads into a taxi. He's like, oh, I'm leaving to a place that I know for a fact has no mummies whatsoever. And then, like, the end title card is, like, mummies were eventually discovered. And, like...
Oh, that's pretty funny.
I think it was, like, I don't even remember. Peru.
That's pretty
Something
funny.
like that.
Yeah, that's a weird. And you know what? It says a lot about Brendan Fraser's star power that when they finally did do The Mummy with Tom Cruise, there were a lot of people being like, "Where's Brendan Fraser?"
Yeah.
Like, people like, "Why didn't you do another one with him?" Like, I think Universal really underestimated the staying power of those films.
Totally. And now it's just, like, buckled. You know?
Yeah, they fucked it. They could totally pivot back though.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know what else that reminds me of is, like, I mean, different because fictional character, but, like, when they announced Green Lantern with Ryan Reynolds, people were like, whoa, are they whitewashing Green Lantern? And it's like, well, no, but, yeah, the Jon Stewart Green Lantern is, like, the Lantern of our generation, basically, because of the cartoon.
Yeah.
And those older executives had no grasp of, like, pop culture the way that some do now. Now, they misuse that knowledge, of course, for their own capital gain. And to like shortcut shit, but it's a very weird, different time within the studio system. It's the kind of weird time that brings us Monkey Bone, frankly.
I don't know what results in Monkey Bone.
A lot of cocaine.
I was gonna bring up Inkheart. Remember Inkheart?
I never saw it, but I do remember Brendan Fraser on the poster, and yeah, it's also 2008.
Yeah. So like I said, you had like
very
3
happy to
movies
see
in a
him popping
row,
up.
and Inkheart I saw in theaters, have zero memory of.
Oh.
He has a cameo as Lieutenant Stone in G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra.
You know why, right?
Why? I don't actually know. I don't know anything
Stephen
about
Sommers.
That. Oh yeah, all right.
directed it, yeah.
All right. I forget. Where the fuck is Stephen Sommers?
I don't know.
Like, he just disappeared.
I know.
Like, Odd Thomas was like the last movie he did, and that movie sat on a shelf for like 2 years.
I've had people go to bat for that movie. I haven't seen it.
I I know enough about the Odd Thomas books that I'm like, I don't ever need to see that.
Okay.
So, but maybe it's all right.
Yeah.
You know what? I kind of like the Van Helsing movie he did, and that's like a bad movie.
I love Van Helsing.
I don't know if I love it, but it is like it's very close to being like a schlock masterpiece.
It totally is. It is so much fucking fun. I have a blast with it, and you know
inexplicably, like they're like, well, we got to have an action scene in the opening of this movie. And it's like, because we have to set up Van Helsing, and it's like, okay, he's gonna fight Mr. Hyde at Notre Dame. Like, that doesn't make any sense, but all right. Like, I
know, wouldn't it have made more sense for it to be the Hunchback?
Yeah, like it feels like, you know what? Here's what I'm betting happened. This is 100% what happened. That it was gonna be the Hunchback, but then someone at Universal was like, we can't do that. Like, Hunchback might be offensive to it. Like, which no one would care about the fucking Hunchback of Notre Dame, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, no one's gonna complain. And then it was like, put Mr. Hyde in. Like, you know what? The sexy vampire ladies in that, like when they turn into vampire demons, those things hung over the horror makeup show at Universal in Florida for like over a decade after that movie was released.
They knew what they had.
Yeah, it was that show, which I didn't get to do it the last time I was there, but they were so in on Van Helsing, and this is like well after it was clear Van Helsing had bombed and was like not gonna be, there weren't gonna be sequels. Like, it was very clear that that's what had happened, and for whatever reason that show was like, now look, here's all the props from Van Helsing.
Well, this is something I could pivot back into Monkey Bone too. The sets and the designs of Van Helsing are fucking fantastic.
Yeah, stuff that, like, it's one of those things where it's like so depressing how it would just never happen today. Like, that they just wouldn't build these type of sets.
Yeah, like, even if you don't like Van Helsing the movie, like, it looks unbelievable. Like, the scale is just incredible. Now, you might question, why is the Van Helsing movie like doing this stuff, but it looks unbelievable. It looks like one of the biggest movies ever made, and at the time I believe it was. Was Monkey Bone one of the biggest movies ever made? No, it was not. But it was kind of a, how do I put this? It was a long shot. That's what I will say. I think it's filled with interesting designs, fantastically weird concepts. I think the stop motion, like, mixture with live action actually is pretty impressive.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, like, Monkey Bone is like slapping Brendan Fraser on the head and stuff like that, and I'm like, that looks pretty good. Like, it doesn't look like jittery or something like that, which is what I would expect and be okay with, like, in a marriage of the two mediums. But yeah, I thought it looked pretty good.
And there's sometimes really simple effects, like there's the bull at the bar, who I did not realize was Martin Starr. And then once I realized, I was like, oh yeah, that's 100% his voice. Where, like, they just put like a prosthetic head on him that like had no articulation, and then they just kind of barely moved it with CGI later. And you can totally see it, but it works. You know, there's like a lot of really simple tricks here. Honestly, here's something: commentary, 100% worth listening to, just to hear kind of like the practicalities of making a movie like this. You know, there's a lot of talk like that on the commentary.
You go first.
All right, the movie's bad. I'm sorry. Like, I want to like it. I really do. It never... I gotta say, Roger Ebert gave this a negative review. I want to see how many stars. Roger Ebert gave 1.5 stars. Okay. And here's something. He isn't, like, vicious in his... I recommend reading this review. He's not vicious in it. He's actually, like, really complimentary to the film. And he's just like... Here's the quote. He says, the movie labors hard. The special effects are admirable. No expense has been spared, and yet the movie never takes off. It's a bright idea the filmmakers were unable to breathe life into. And that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, me too.
It never gets there. And it's such a shame, because there is so much effort on display.
Yeah, Is it? I mean, I know this movie had like a rough production, like we're gonna talk about, but is some of it just like Henry Selick not being able to fully adapt to live action? Maybe.
Some of it might be that. I think he does okay. I think he does a fine job. You know, like the direction in here isn't like spectacular, but it's also not like I'm not sitting here going like, why is this so flat looking for such a wacky scene?
Mm-hmm.
You know, but he is kind of maximizing everything because he's an animator. You know, that's how he thinks, and it can be a little overwhelming when you're like, I don't know what I'm looking at. Like, there's a lot of that in this movie where I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking at or what I'm supposed to be feeling.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like weird fantasy concepts in here. You know, they do the coma thing, but it's also like no, the coma stuff's still gonna matter though. Like,
yeah,
and make it explicit even from the get go. It's like no, this is important. It's not just like it was all
and
in
there's
his head.
Like layers on top of layers of like what the fuck is happening here. You know, like there's too much story almost, and I think some of that's Sam Hamm. Like according to the commentary, like a lot of the ideas that like. Here's the thing, I was like, okay, this feels cut down. This feels like there was a lot lost in some sort of translation. So maybe that's what happened. And then I listened to the commentary, and Henry Selick's like, this idea I wasn't 100% sure on, but Sam Hamm was insistent we keep it in there. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, man, the tone of this is all over the place. Like, it feels like they couldn't pick. Like, maybe in editing they tried to change the tone of it. Maybe it was like a darker film at a certain point. And then Henry Selick on the commentary is like, it was my idea to have the clashing tones.
Oh, no.
And then I'm like, the fuck happened here? And then, I will say this, Henry Selick 100% talks shit on executive producer Chris Columbus. But
I wonder why.
I can't for the life of me figure out exactly what the conflict was. It seems like Chris Columbus just didn't understand what Henry Selick was going for. And it's like, buddy, me too. But it's also like, even if I'm in agreement that like I don't know what Henry Selick's going for, the last guy I'd want to try and solve that problem is Chris Columbus.
Yeah.
So, and I will say, Henry Selick's version of talking shit is being like, some of the executives didn't really understand this part, you know, so we had to change it a little bit for them. And Chris Columbus and I were kind of like oil and water. We just didn't have the same vision. It's 100% that tone. He's not on there being like, fuck Chris Columbus. Like, he's just like, me and Chris, we just didn't agree on this, you know. He wanted it to be more this, I wanted it to be more that. And I'm like, all right. It's honestly a really interesting commentary that it was even... I have no idea why there was a commentary for it and why there were so many special features on the DVD. I guess people were just like, maybe it'll be like Nightmare Before Christmas. Like, maybe it'll have a cult following once it hits video.
Yeah, I mean, that was like a monster hit. Basically, right?
Well, Nightmare Before Christmas, I believe it makes money it does okay in theaters, right?
It's just like monumental now.
Yeah, and then like home video, it's huge, and like Disney basically kept afloat because of the merchandising from fucking Nightmare. And Nightmare is the movie that lets Disney be like, see, we can be punk too. Like, that's why there's Disney shit at Hot Topic. Like, it's 100% Nightmare Before Christmas. And, yeah, it was weird. I was like, did Chris Columbus come here and try to turn this movie into, like, a Dick and Fart jokes movie? Was that, like, his goal? And it's like, no, Henry Selick seemed to like the fucking Dick and Fart jokes. Like, so I really don't know. I was baffled by this movie, and I came away more baffled. There are a lot of deleted scenes that it looks like Chris Columbus was like, edit this fucker down. And to take Henry Selick's side, I think the movie would have been better with a lot of those deleted scenes still included.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it really does enough to fix it.
Yeah, I think it's a little long in the tooth already. Mm-hmm. But I do agree that there just needs to be more like context for a lot of the stuff here.
Yeah.
I need like a little not that there's no breathing room. There's probably too much breathing room, but it'd feel better if there was just like more story to fill out the gaps, I guess.
Mm-hmm. But there's also too much story.
Maybe,
like,
but it's like it feels like there's too much, but there's still so little actively like happening. You know,
it's too much in all the wrong places. Like, it's so weird. This was such a beast of a movie, you know. Mm-hmm. And goddamn, I wanted to like it. You know, I swear to God, I went into this wanting to like it. And I don't even hate it. I was just more like, I came away with being like, I can't believe I watched a movie like that and came away feeling so little.
Mm-hmm. And I think I don't want to dissuade people from checking it out. Not just because Dan has a soft spot for it, but like there's so much like artistic energy on display that I feel comes across as very flat. But I could tell people put a lot of like real hard work into this thing.
There is an extended sequence of his arrival at Darktown that I think does a better job at like showcasing all this imagination.
Yeah.
It's weird. I was like watching it and I was like, I watched the theatrical cut and it's like there are characters in the background and I'm like, why was so much imagination put into this guy who has no lines and is in the background? And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And then I watched the deleted scenes, and I'm like, oh, this guy had, like, a moment in the deleted scenes, and it just got cut for some reason.
Jesus.
Yeah. So what's the movie about?
Monkey Bone is about a character named Stu Miley, who is a cartoonist. He draws a little comic book about a character named Monkey Bone. Has become, like, insanely popular. It's kind of
for
like
reasons that are never justified or explained.
No, it's happened. They were starting the movie, and
because this movie opens with a cartoon that if people were like skeptical about the movie going in, you're never recovering from this cartoon.
No, it was. Like, I mean, this is the thing. I also wanted to like the movie. It's kind of repulsive at times. I don't hate it, but from the get go, it's like wrong foot, immediately wrong foot.
Well, it was also something where it's like, it was so repulsive in the opening, like that was kind of got me excited a little bit, you know, of being like, because also, all right, I gotta say, when did you first see Monkey Bone?
When we decided to do it for this podcast.
Okay, so Monkey Bone, I did not see it. I saw previews for it. I saw it at Blockbuster all the time. Never watched it. I caught it on TV out of context a bunch of times, right? Mm-hmm. And in my head, I had just kind of justified that I must have seen the whole movie at some point. And it turns out I did, but in my mind, this movie was like this huge epic that, like, because there's so many disparate sequences that I'm like, clearly this was some sort of epic adventure that was connected in some odd way, you know? Mm-hmm. And then it was like, oh no, the movie is actually as scatterbrained as watching 5 minutes of it out of context on like the Sci-Fi Channel or something. Like, it's fucking wild. So when I sat down to watch it with kind of very little memory, other than I remember thinking the visuals were interesting, that cartoon in the beginning is so like fucked up that like, A, it's like, well, now I know why this movie bombed. B, it's impossible to believe an audience would respond positively to it at all. Like, what is this universe?
Remember how you said it might just be because of The Nightmare Before Christmas?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that. Well, here, did Touchstone produce this?
Did they? Who produced this shit? No, 20th Century Fox.
Oh, okay.
And it was 1492, which is Chris Columbus's production company.
Maybe Chris Columbus believed in it at one point?
I don't know. Chris Columbus is so fucking boring. Like, I don't know what his deal is. You know? Mm-hmm. Because his movies are boring. So, I don't know what he responded to in the Sam Hamm script.
Well, hey, Chris Columbus has some good movies.
Like what?
Well, you know, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
Look, Chris Columbus has plenty of serviceable movies. Movies that get the job done when you watch them, right?
No, those are about the two that I like.
Yeah. I mean, Home Alone's fine, I guess.
People are so fucking weird about those old nostalgic classes. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't care about Home Alone. Sorry,
I can watch it at Christmas and enjoy it. Home Alone 2 is the one that's like truly terrible.
Oh, I have a soft spot for Mrs. Doubtfire, but
People love Adventures in Babysitting, which I have not ever seen.
it's probably like Revenge of the Nerds. People talk it up and you watch it and you're like, what the fuck is wrong with people?
I think it's one of those like PG movies that is like inexplicably super dark, which seemed to be the Chris Columbus thing for a little bit. Chris Columbus has a weird dark side that like he never tapped into, and then like by the time he's making movies, he's like super just sentimental, you know? With like fucking Bicentennial Man.
Oh my god.
You remember
He
Bicentennial
fucking
Man?
directed that movie.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
There was another poster that like I seem to see everywhere.
Yeah, that shit was fucking all over the place. I didn't see the Monkey Bone poster everywhere. I did see the commercials, and I was like, I want to see that. My parents made the right choice, and not even because of like what I think of the quality. I think I would have had like nightmares of like a lot of the animation and like the weird creatures in the Coma Land. There's there's pigeons with like the human faces. That would have fucked me up.
Yeah, there's some unpleasant stuff in this.
Yeah. That would have ruined my life.
Yeah, I don't know how I would have responded to fucking Monkey Bone. Monkey Bone's literally a walking boner. Like, that's the gag.
Yeah, I guess, okay, so let's actually talk about, like, the idea. It's a movie about an artist who's unhappy with their work, their life, but they also are very happy with their girlfriend. They want to ask her to marry him. He gets to a coma on the night of this big event regarding Monkey Bone that's going to, like, take the world by storm. He's going to get all these brand deals. He's going to get a TV show. It's great. Everything's going great for him, but he's miserable. The narrative outcome of the story, without giving everything away, is that he has to come to terms with horniness, I guess?
Well, it's like, you know, like a monkey kind of represents like an inner self at times, you know? Mm-hmm. Like the inner like version of herself that's just all sex, all like fucking fart, poop and shit, right? Like, and that's like in mythology. That's like that we can trace that back to like mythology, and it's this. He's clearly a guy who's got like a lot of suppressed shit going on.
Yeah,
but he's not. He doesn't. What is his problem at the start of the movie?
He has no active problem. No, it's just kind of like, oh,
his girlfriend loves him. So, like, even if this isn't, like, his true self, it's, like, which is a good conflict where it's, like, this woman loves you, but, like, it's not who you really are deep down, right?
Yeah, and there's a moment later where the girlfriend character, I'm sorry, I don't remember her name in the movie. She has her friend helping, like, clean up his apartment, or his place when he's in a coma, and then they're looking at, like, the difference between his drawings. It's, like, Monkey Bone on one side, which is very, like, abrasive, raunchy, simplistic art. Not bad, obviously. I'm not degrading any of that. But, like, and then the other half of it is, like, this weird, fucked up, surreal shit. And then he gets asked a question like, oh, is it this, it's like the same guy? You know, is it the same guy, basically? And it's like, okay, there's an interesting conflict there. We're like 30 minutes into the movie when that happens.
Yeah, I guess the problem is he ends up in a coma like 5 minutes into this movie. So we don't really know anything about him before the coma. Like, he's clearly not happy with the Monkey Bone, like, becoming like this marketing thing, right? Like, that's kind of the stuff that's fun with, like, Dave Foley trying to, like, market the fucking shit out of Monkey Bone.
Yeah.
And like, we make it very clear that, like, Monkey Bone is clearly some sort of, like, really personal thing he's trying to wrestle with, right? And he's watching it being commercialized, which makes this movie in the same ballpark as Matrix Resurrections.
How dare you?
Another movie where a guy just has to wake up.
Oh,
Gotta wake up.
I'll say I'm back from Comic-Con, and I got to watch Keanu Reeves arrive on stage, which I did not know was going to happen, and I was like less than 20 feet away from him. It was genuinely exhilarating.
There you go.
Keanu Reeves, please be a good person.
Yes, Keanu.
Please let all the stories be true. Speaking of influences and things that are similar, here are a couple things that inspired the film. The film's plot is influenced by things like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which makes a lot of sense, Beetlejuice, which stylistically makes a lot of sense, and Ralph Bakshi's Cool World, which is another film that went through like production hell and is also basically truncated into a form that is not really worth recommending. And it makes a lot of sense when I read that
Isn't the central conflict of Cool World is that you can't have sex with a cartoon?
It's a little simplifying it, but yes.
But that's what happens in that. Like if you have sex with a cartoon, that's bad.
Yes. I like Ralph Bakshi. He's weird, though.
Yeah, Ralph Bakshi's insane.
Yeah.
Like, he's genuinely insane. And you can hear it in his voice how much cocaine he did.
Yeah.
So, he's like Paul Schrader in that respect.
Oh my god, yeah. They both sound like fucking bulldogs when they talk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Stu. Alright, so here's something. So, I watched Monkey Bone, and I was kind of perplexed by the fucking thing, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I knew that Dan Dougherty would be excited for this.
Sorry.
I'm sorry to everyone.
No, well, here's something else. John Turturro voices Monkey Bone.
Which is, you know what's weird? He never brings that up in the commentary. I can't remember a moment where he even says the name John Turturro.
Maybe it wasn't his choice.
I think the original choice was gonna be Brendan Fraser was also gonna voice Monkey Bone.
See, that makes sense to me.
And
not,
I think it just...
Not to disregard anything of the great John Turturro.
I think Henry Selick alludes to it just didn't work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I watched the fucking movie, and I'm like, I need help. So, I messaged Dan, and I was like, is there anything I need to know about Monkey Bone? And he passed a message along to Meg, whose name on Twitter is Monkey Bone. Mm-hmm. I think Meg might also be listening to this episode, so hello, Meg.
Yeah, hi, Meg. Sorry, also.
And so the first response I got was this is like right after I watched the movie. Don't skimp on the phone booth death scene debacle. And I'm like, what phone booth death scene? And I'm sitting there, and then I'm like, I must have missed something watching the movie. All right. And then eventually it comes out like, you should listen to the commentary. And I'm like, okay, so then we turn this whole fucking brouhaha of me getting this DVD, this goddamn DVD I spent $3 on.
Yeah,
so now
you,
Monkey Bone's
Matt.
on my shelf.
Thank you.
This is payback for you having to rent North.
You know what? That's fair.
I get the DVD, I watch it with commentary, didn't get a whole lot out of the commentary track. And then I get to the end of it, and I'm like, I was specifically looking for a phone booth. There's no fucking phone booth in this movie. What the fuck is going on? And I eventually figure out, oh, it's a deleted scene. And you can watch the deleted scene, which I watch, and so the deleted scene of the phone booth is basically, so there's a scene where the Monkey Bone balloon explodes, right? Like it blows up in their car, which is kind of a fun idea. It drives him and then he crashes. In the theatrical cut, he crashes and immediately he's in a coma, right?
Yeah.
In the movie version, in the deleted scene, I mean, they crash but they're fine. They get out of the car. They have a little bit of a back and forth. what's his fuck comes over, his guy who's trying to market Monkey Bone, and is like, "Oh man, the balloon actually saved your life when you think about it," which is a bit of a funny joke.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like trying to call people to like start. He wants like right away wants to start making Monkey Bone airbags. And Brendan Fraser's like, "You're not calling 911, are you?" And he's like, "No." And so Brendan Fraser's like, "All right, I'll do it." And he goes over to this conveniently placed phone booth. They're in an alley. I don't know what a phone booth is doing there. But a pipe they crashed into breaks off and lands directly on top of the phone booth, and that's how he ends up in a coma.
So what's the debacle?
I guess so. All right, then I listened to it with commentary from Henry Selick, right?
Right.
Because there's some of the deleted scenes have commentary for it, and Henry Selick basically just describes the scene that happens. He's like, "Yeah, here's a longer version of the crash scene," and he's like, "Chris Columbus told us to cut it." And all right, look. Henry Selick, I will agree. I think the version of the pole falling on them is better. It's less jarring, right?
Right.
It's not significantly better. At this point, I just straight up message Meg again, and I just go, "Explain the phone booth debacle scene, please." And Meg also describes explicitly what happens. And she says Columbus thought it was too gruesome. And I guess this is like the scene that like it makes it very clear that Columbus kind of edited the shit out of the movie. And Meg is of the opinion that this movie was at one point possibly a dark comedy masterpiece, and that Columbus came in and kind of took all the darkness out of it. Which I would agree. I think Columbus did come in and take the darkness out of it. But looking at the deleted scenes, I don't think anything in there makes the movie better. That's just my opinion. I think the movie isn't in the vibe of it. I think it's all story that is the problem. And nowhere, anywhere did I find any explanation as to like where the story lost fucking control. There are some hints that there was some stuff that was just in the script that was never shot that I think would have made the movie better. But as far as I can tell, a lot of that stuff wasn't even filmed. But even then, there wasn't enough there for me to be like, okay, I can see this.
Yeah, from my perspective, as only seeing the theatrical version of the film, I can see like the nuggets of interesting ideas and like the idea that you have to come to terms with yourself and like all of you that entails.
Yeah, we didn't even come to terms with what the fuck that's even supposed to mean.
Yeah, but that singular idea is what a lot of stories are ultimately about, right? Mm-hmm. It's like about like, who am I?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of potential for that idea to be filled with like a wacky narrative with like insanely stylistic visuals and production set pieces. And that's what bums me out about this not working for me, is that like I should be kind of in the bag for shit like this.
Yeah.
And I didn't really get anything out of it.
Yeah.
I also just have questions, and
I mostly just got that the
fart
movie
jokes and like repulsive, yeah. And I'm not usually a guy that even hates fart jokes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like them often. But
there's a weird moment in the commentary where Henry Selick goes in on the critics who didn't like the movie.
Mm.
And Henry Selick again going in is like, some critics didn't like the movie, and I have to disagree. Like, he's very mellow. And he was like, people complained about the fart jokes in the movie. And he's like, hey, man, there's only like 4 fart jokes in this thing.
But they go on forever.
Well, here's the A, they go on forever. And B, he's talking about it over a scene where the fucking Monkey Bone puppet farts like at least a dozen times. And I'm like, dude, like, how are you counting fart jokes here? I can't even think of like the threads to like really, like I said, like there's a weird thing about like trying to come to terms with like, He's like, am I this sensitive artist guy or am I this fucking perverted monkey man? You know?
Mm-hmm.
It's literally like, I mean, it's explicitly the mind and, like, dick connection, you know? That's explicitly what this movie is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's, like, it's not even subtext. And it's a movie that's like, fine, yeah, you're both. Which is not a bad message, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, come to terms with both sides of yourself. Like, you can make both of them work. They're not at odds with each other. You're only making them at odds. That sort of at oddsness is an illusion, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't think a single thing happens in the movie that, like, leads to that conclusion. Does any, like... Other than at the very end when, like, all in the cartoon, everyone's taking off their human suits and their monkeys inside, right?
Yeah.
Like, that was, like, the only moment I could really think of. Or, like, you know, and here's something, I didn't even put, like, it was one of these movies where, as I'm watching it, it's, like, leaving my brain. Like, it's not even staying in my brain. I totally even missed the first pass around that, like, Death, played by Whoopi Goldberg, just merges Monkey Bone and Stu together. Which feels like I should have noticed that. And I wasn't, like, distracted or anything. I turn off all my devices when I sit down to watch a fucking movie. And I totally just, like, left my brain after watching. And I'm like, I guess that's what the movie was about.
It's clear that that's supposed to be, like, the culmination of it. And again, I was saying how much I like that idea. None of that is, like, really backed up by the actual, like, narrative, conflicts throughout the film that are peppered throughout the film.
And I guess, also, the movie was, like, daring me to, like, not try to like it, too. Because Monkey Bone as a character has no redeeming qualities.
Mm-hmm.
Which is almost kind of like, you want to commend the movie for being that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I really want to give this movie, like, credit for just being as daring as it is. It just never gets there. And Monkey Bone has no redeeming qualities. There's nothing sympathetic about him.
Mm-hmm.
The closest we get is that he's a monkey. He's a horned up monkey with no dick, so maybe he's, like, frustrated. Like, and that's why he desperately wants a body. But yeah.
It feels like it wants to tackle some headier stuff regarding, like, human sexuality, passion, artistic endeavors. Like, those are all valid things to want to confront
like
in the story.
Sam Hamm, his scripts tend to be very bloated from what we've figured on this show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he tends to be juggling a lot with, like, very little structure. Henry Selick has a great vision, but can't really bring any more structure to an already structureless story, right?
Right.
And then you have Chris Columbus in there trying to give structure to it, but the way he's doing it is, like, completely at odds with what the movie is.
Yeah.
You know? Like, Columbus is... It's almost like Columbus wants to end the movie with Monkey Bone dying. Like, and he doesn't understand that the movie has to end with them coming together. And it's like the worst mix of, like the three worst people made this movie in terms of being put together. You know?
Yeah. To go back to, like, the human sexuality thing, have you seen Good Luck to You, Leo Grand? It's that new movie with Emma Thompson.
No, I've heard about it, though.
Yeah, it's a small little movie. It's not, like, outstanding, but I admire it a lot. It feels like one of those movies that could have been, like, a play adaptation. Or, like, an adaptation of a play. Like, it's mostly, like, a hotel room, like a cafe, like, single location stuff. And I found that film, like, the best parts of it, like, I think the writing's pretty good, and I think the acting's really good, but the best parts of it are, like, how open it is about, like, expressing and understanding, like, desire, and, like, even the desire to be desired, you know? And, like, acceptance of, like, how everyone's, like, beautiful in their own way. Like, you don't need validation from someone else. Like, it's nice, but, like, there was a lot of, like, moving pieces in, like, the emotional components of that story. And the frustration I felt of Monkey Bone's, like, lack of not just, like, nuance in regards to, like, human sexuality, which is an insane thing I didn't expect to be talking about during Monkey Bone. Like, just made me think about that movie, because it was like, again, not like the best movie of the year or anything like that, but it's just so like open and empathetic and even like sympathetic to like the desires of human beings, and like it was. I recommend Good Luck to You, Leo Grande, is what I'm saying. It's on Hulu. If you got it, check it out. You're not interested, it's fine, but it's remarkably sex positive in a way that's not just like patting itself on the back, I guess.
Yeah, which is a big problem with trying to tell a narrative like that. You know?
Yeah.
And I almost want to like Monkey Bone just being like, we're gonna get into it, and we're gonna show like the disgusting side of like sexuality and like the human drive for shit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like I almost want to be like, it understands like the double-edged sword of it, but I think you did hit on something where there is kind of like a lack of empathy going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And not in a, like, I don't think this is, like, a mean-spirited movie or that Henry Selick is, like, a horrible person. And I don't, like, it's just, we don't really get an inner life for anyone in a movie that takes place mostly inside someone's mind.
Yeah, that should be, like, the narrative shortcut to getting that. And
yeah.
It's not.
It's so weird. It's like, this is a movie... And I just have to assume maybe it all got lost in, like, the editing down of the Darktown stuff where, like, the executives just got too freaked out by how it looked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe that's where it really lost it. Because I will say, Henry Selick talks a lot about, like, what the ideas were for Darktown. Or Downtown. The comic is Darktown. But he mentions that the creatures that we run into in Downtown are like represent like mythical gods and monsters, and he said old and new, and then like old were going to be like classic, like Medusa straight up shows up in this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a bee woman, there's cat people, like this stuff goes back to mythology, right?
Yeah,
it's all over. But he's also said the new for him, and this was like an interesting idea that like is never fucking present. Is that like a lot of the new monsters were going to be at like references to advertising, and he doesn't go too into it, but it's like he was hinting at the idea being that like our modern gods are like the like advertising mascots, and like that's the form a lot of like these classical monsters have taken on, and that they would go to these like nightmare theaters where like nightmares would be projected, and the nightmares would like turn them, would like help like pump them up and reveal them to be like the deep, like the monsters they are at their core. But then once the nightmare's over, they just deflate back to like the goofy caricatures they are, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that ties into the whole like weird, like Monkey Bone is like being turned into this weird marketing tool of just like, we're making Monkey Bone toys and Monkey Bone things. We're doing a tie-in with this fucking burger company that like they're fighting pig guts in the fucking burgers, like, which is a whole thing.
Yeah.
And, but it, like, I just have to assume all of that got lost at some point. And even that, like, that's all interesting and maybe would have saved this movie for me to give, like, a like, moderate recommendation. But I don't think the Stu Monkey Bone relationship ever really works. And then on top of that, what works even less is the Stu Bridget Fonda relationship.
Yeah.
Which feels like it should be the fucking heart of the movie.
I know, and it's like she's kind of just like...
She's just there and is like
to
helping.
fawn over him.
Yeah. And what's weird is like, when he's possessed Monkey Bone, she's like freaked out by it, but like still sticks with him. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Which makes her the most loyal woman on earth. And then she's like, all right, I don't know what's going on with the man I love. He's clearly been changed by the accident he's in, but I love him enough that I will stick with this new version of him. And then it's like, what's the conflict here? What does he have to solve about himself? Like, why did he even need to go to downtown? Like,
I don't know. I don't think we've been stumped by a movie like this in
I know, I
in
am
a
so
long time.
baffled by like, what are we doing? I don't get, and also, and then we go to like two realms. It's kind of the multiverse of madness thing where it's like we only go to two multiverses, but like we only go to two realms, which are like this weird like realm of a coma, and then like death realm, and it's like, what cosmos is this? Like, can't we at least get like a map that someone just points at and just goes, "You are here"? Like. It's... The fuck is this movie?
I'm willing to bet those executives and Chris Columbus had the same questions, frankly, by the end of it. And they were just like, you know what? Let's just pretend it's more family friendly and make some money off it.
And Selleck goes in deep on being like, I believe in the artistic vision. This is the vision I was going for. He talks about every time he felt like they compromised on something, and he clearly doesn't like it. And I'm on his side that a lot of the compromises are not good compromises, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but I think he needed a guiding hand that wasn't present, and what he did have were like scared executives and fucking Chris Columbus. And so I can't say, like, I don't think I can put the blame on Chris Columbus for ruining the movie, but I can say, like, he was the exact wrong guy to try and guide them out of whatever fucking problem they were in. And alright, and so we just talked about how, like, Bridget Fonda has nothing to do. The only character slightly more useless than her, but at least she has some impact on the plot, is Miss Kitty, whose deal I never figure out when watching it. She's just kind of like a sexy cat lady.
Yeah, and it's like, at some point she's supposed to be like a femme fatale?
Yeah.
Or a feline fatale, excuse me.
Yeah.
So funny. But it's just like strange. And sure, we've all seen pictures on the internet at this point of stuff like this, but it's weird to see it in a movie that's this old, I guess.
Well, look, it's Rose McGowan in like 2001. Like, Rose McGowan's an attractive woman.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, and they just put cat ears on her. Like, I don't, like, whatever. Like, fine. But it's just like so... What is she?
Well, she is the hots for Brendan Fraser.
But, like, why?
Oh, well, why not?
And, like, you'd almost be like, maybe she's, like, a reflection of Bridget Fonda? Like, that this is, like, fucking Brendan Fraser, all he's been waiting to do is tell fucking Bridget Fonda, be like, hey, maybe put some cat ears on one of these days, you know? Spice things up a little bit. Like, maybe that's what's going on. But even that doesn't go anywhere. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then at one point, Miss Kitty just, like, randomly gets violent and, like, kills that, like, rat guard.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And Henry Selick's on the commentary being like, yeah, the studio found this a little jarring. And I'm like, the fuck yeah, they did. I found it jarring. Like, what? Now the only thing I know about Miss Kitty is that she's a violent murderer.
Well, here, you know what else is, like, really off-putting? So there's actually a lot of people in this movie.
Yes.
Megan Mullally, that's how I
Oh, yeah,
it.
it was the sister who wants to pull the plug.
Yeah, like, that felt mean-spirited to me.
Well, here's something really strange. So it's like, okay, like, he's got a terrible sister. So now we get this, like, brief window. Okay, maybe he had a terrible home life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe that's what's really going on here. Like, oh, like, that's so that now we're getting a window into Stu's, like, mental state. It's really subtle. Henry Selick's a genius. Like it's like the one moment we get.
Yeah.
That something might be going on. She just wants to pull the plug. She's going to get the money. The doctor's like, actually, it takes 3 months sometimes to wake up out of a coma, which isn't medically true, but whatever. You can't even lay in a bed for 2 days without it royally fucking up your body. But, Henry Selick on the commentary talks about, like, you know, she seems like she's doing this for really callous reasons, but there's actually backstory here where they made a pact that if either of them were in a situation like this, the other should pull the plug. And she's actually kind of doing it for sympathetic reasons. She's just eager to do it. And I'm like, what?
Well, that's in the movie. She explains
yeah, but, like,
that.
What?
No, it's still fucked up and it's weird, and I just have more questions again. More questions. But it's in the movie. So, like, the fact that he felt the need to reiterate that, and he's like, no, you guys don't understand. No, we understand. It's just fucking weird that that's in the movie. And then her attitude's not reflective of that. She's giddy, and she scampers off when the fiance, or the potential fiance, realizes what's happening, you know? Like, it's still fucked up, man. By the way, I want you all to know, if I'm ever in a coma, and someone tries to pull the plug early, kill them.
Put them in a coma.
But no, murder. Okay, fine, coma.
Yeah, 9 for an eye, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Hammurabi. He had it right.
Yeah,
And then-
that
and
works
then-
out well for everyone.
And then if they have to pull the plug, then you pull the plug on the other person, too.
Yes.
There you go.
Justice. Yeah, Rose McGowan, Dave Foley, Whoopi Goldberg, Bob Odenkirk. As someone
Yes.
who just started watching Better Call Saul, that was a very pleasant surprise towards the end of this film.
Mm-hmm.
Weird situation.
And this is like Mr. Show Bob Odenkirk,
Yeah.
too.
Shut up, honey! I have to live with this and you have to support me! That's my favorite fucking clip right now.
Thomas Hayden Church is in this as Death's assistant. Apparently he improvised a lot on set, and I guess Henry Selick doesn't seem too thrilled about that.
Oh.
But he's uncredited for some reason.
Yeah, why? Why is that?
I have no idea. And Robert Wool is also in this. I missed him, honestly. He's also uncredited, so they're like the only two guys really uncredited in this movie. And I don't know why they're the two that are uncredited. Thomas Hayden Church wasn't like a name at the time where it could be like oh, okay, he's doing an uncredited cameo. Like, and he plays a significant role in the film.
Oh my god. Unfortunately, a genuinely terrible person is in this film. I missed this, but Harry Knowles is apparently in this.
Yes, I only noticed it on the when I rewatched it for the commentary.
That sucks.
He has 0 lines and is just looking out his window watering plants. And it's the scene where Chris Kattan is trying to get into the house, and he's like, "Don't call the cops!" And I was like, that guy looks like Harry Knowles. And then I looked it up, and it was.
Speaking of people in a coma, he should also be in one.
Yeah, why couldn't that cart that ran him over have done that?
Yeah. Why can't someone else run him over? Anyways.
It's whatever. He's in 2 seconds. This is the time you could get away with a Harry Knowles cameo.
Yeah. He was also in The Faculty, and I love The Faculty, so.
Look, no one knew at the time.
Yeah, I know.
Some people found out later and then didn't say anything. So,
Yeah.
we'll talk about that. But, hey. There's a
Oh.
really sad moment in the commentary where, the cop that's gonna shoot the fucking helium-filled balloon that they're flying away on. This cop is gonna shoot, and then there's like, stop. Henry's talking on the commentary. He's like, keep an eye out for this guy, Lou Romano. He's gonna be big. And then I looked him up, and like the only thing he's done is like voice work.
Aww.
And he's like mostly like a behind-the-scenes guy. He works at Leica Animation now.
I have a note about that. Not about that guy, but about Leica. So, Henry Selick, I'm going to get back to shouting out at least one more member of the cast, but Henry Selick hasn't directed a lot of feature films or anything, right? He's got Nightmare Before Christmas, which many people think is like a masterwork. You know, I love the film. I'd have to revisit it before I decide any of that. James and the Giant Peach, which has its fan base, and I need to rewatch that one too. Coraline, which I do believe is a genuine masterpiece.
Coraline's great. It's better than the book, actually, which you don't say too often.
Yeah, I just read the book for the first time this year. I like it. I still like it quite a bit. But that movie is phenomenal. It put Leica on the map. Do you know what else he did for Leica? There's a little short film. It's about 10 minutes long. It's called Moon Girl.
Yeah, I've seen Moon Girl, yes.
This is before they decided to stick to strictly stop-motion animation. This is the most horrifying short film I've ever seen in my entire life. It's so fucking hideous. It's actively visually repulsive. The actual story is kind of sweet, but it looks terrifying. The CG models and the animation of the kids is just like...
I mean, it's 2005.
Yeah. So, like, it wasn't ready But I'm kind of thankful that this is like.
It looks a lot like Scary Godmother. Did you ever see Scary Godmother?
No, but the title alone, it kind of put me off to that right now. So.
But that has a lot of that cheap CGI shit in it. Yeah. Also, Henry Selick, he has a movie coming out. We'll talk about that in a second. Actually, he apparently like made a good chunk of another movie that is just sitting on a shelf somewhere.
Yeah, what the Shadow something.
The Shadow King. And I think it was changed. Like the name's been changed like 6 times. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and he was supposed to do the Graveyard Book with Neil Gaiman, and then that fell through. And then Ron Howard was going to do it, and nothing has happened. Neil Gaiman having like a weird track record of like getting guys with like a great vision and then them leaving and then they bringing in someone with no vision. So I don't know what that's about.
I don't know.
But it's all right. One thing that's weird is in the commentary I learned that Henry Selick, I think, originally wanted to do this movie. There was going to be the live action component, but once you get to Downtown, everyone, including Brendan Fraser, were going to be stop motion. That there was going to be like a clear cutoff point there. And so like half the movie would be animated. And it was apparently Chris Columbus's idea to mix the two, which is strange. That seems like needlessly complicated if the guy wanted to do it the other way.
Yeah.
But what's even stranger is that's the mixing of live action and stop motion was what Selick wanted to do with James and the Giant Peach. He wanted James to remain live action and all the creatures to be stop motion. But that was switched around for cost reasons. So it's so weird that like he wanted to do the opposite for each movie. I just assumed it was his idea. He credits Chris Columbus with that idea on the commentary and also doesn't seem happy about it. And he's like, it kind of changed everything we were going for with the look of the movie. And I'm like, sure. All right, I would like to talk about the one sequence in this movie that truly worked for me.
Okay.
That I thought was top to bottom funny. It was dark. It was gross. It was mean-spirited. And it feels like the only time, like, whatever the fuck they were going for really came together. And I never thought I would say this, but the movie suddenly comes together in the moment Chris Kattan shows up. I loved that whole sequence. Like genuinely loved that sequence of an organ donor being on the run from the doctors who want to get his organs. And him running around with a broken neck, too, which is just, like, great physical acting. And this is probably the only movie that figured out how to use Chris Kattan correctly, which is just wild. Like, it made me realize, like, man, there could have been a good run in the early 2000s of Chris Kattan just doing dumb fucking, like, physical comedy like this.
Yeah, I really like it, too. I wouldn't say love, but that sequence had energy.
I loved it. I really loved it.
You know what else it reminded me of? Mm-hmm. Doctor Strange 2.
Sure, there is that.
No, the corpse reanimation.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I'm not saying that, but also, I like that whole thing, and it also helps that Bob Odenkirk is like the straight man and just chasing this fucking dead guy for his organs. And there's one line, I can't remember the line exactly, but he's on the phone. And he's like, no, we'll have them in a minute. Yes, the organs are fine. They're working better than you'd expect them to. Like, which is a really funny line. And that was, and I don't want to sound like I'm only praising Kattan. I will say, basically every actor in this, it felt like they showed up to do their job.
Yeah, no one's like bad in it, and if they're like weird bad, like it's clearly not their fault. Like I didn't dislike any performance in this.
Fraser's terrific. Like I can't talk that enough. I can't say how. Like, he's really funny. Even when he's Monkey Bone, he's, like, being, like, playing to the press. And he's like, this is my fridge where I get my food and other ideas. Like, that's a really funny sequence. Like, that stuff in it, there are bursts. I don't want to, like, I sound like I'm coming across like I thought this movie was just top to bottom awful. It isn't. It's just a movie that never works. Like, there's a lot of, like, nuggets of good stuff in here. There's the visuals I really like. Abe Lincoln's head shows up for some reason. And I was like, I'm expecting an explanation for this on the commentary, And Henry Selick on the commentary is like, yeah, I don't know. It just Abe Lincoln's head made sense. He kind of represents freedom in our culture, you know? That's like his exact quote.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay. And also, like, he listed the people they tried to get initially for Monkey Bone to play the Stu role. And it was people like Nick Cage and like Ben Stiller, and like those choices would have fucked it up. Like Brendan Fraser was the right choice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to sound like I'm downplaying. Like there's like Brendan Fraser does a lot of great stuff in this. It's kind of all over the place is more of the problem. But the rewatch of this, even though it was with commentary, was a little strange for me because on Sunday I saw Jordan Peele's new movie Nope, which Diego has not seen, so I can't actually say anything about the movie.
Oh, sorry. I tried.
It's all right. It's all right. But what the last thing I expected to happen? Oh shit! I knocked my mic over. Sorry. The last thing I expected to happen in Jordan Peele's Nope was to get a very pointed Chris Kattan reference.
What?
Chris Kattan is mentioned by name in the movie Nope. I cannot tell you in what context, but everyone listening knows. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. It's not one of those like blink and you'll miss it type lines. It's in the movie, which gave a whole new context to Monkey Bone on rewatch. And I noticed a lot of parallels, including in the climax. I wish I could explain it, but I can't.
My brain is leaking out of my ears right now.
When you see Nope, before Chris Kattan even shows up, and I don't mean shows up, he's not in it. I want to stress that. They just say Chris Kattan. But before that is even mentioned, you will notice the words Monkey Bone will pop into your brain. Everyone at home's laughing. Everyone that has seen the movie. You editing this after you have seen Nope, I'm assuming, are laughing. This is also funny considering Henry Selick's next project, which will be out in October, is a Key and Peele movie.
Yes. Wendell and Wild.
Which seems to be like one of those things that was made in like the last moment before Jordan Peele was like, I'm only going to be a director from now on.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up Wendell and Wild and Nope because I've been like devouring the Nope interviews with Jordan Peele because shocker if you don't know, Matt and I are huge fans. Like many people are huge fans of him, and so I just love hearing him like talk about his process and his creative.
And he's 3 for 3, motherfuckers.
It sounds like it. And here's the funny thing: I can't like solidify this take yet, but I remember you and I were very worried about the tide turning on Jordan Peele. Nope is apparently so good. Only people like Logan Paul are disliking it, which is very funny. And like everyone else is like, nope, we're done with the doubting, motherfuckers. He's here to stay, which is great. But in one of the interviews, I think with Seth Meyers, they mentioned that like Daniel Kaluuya thanks him for like his Oscar win, basically, right? Like for getting him the shot to do that. And one of the other cast members, I don't know, the newer guy, mentioned like, oh well, he's an Oscar winner too, man. Jordan Peele's an Oscar winner. And he's like, no, not for acting though. Like my thespian days are behind me. And I was like, wait, doesn't he have a movie coming out? Is he not in it anymore? But no, apparently Jordan Peele is still in Wendell and Wild, and they probably just did the voice stuff like way before.
I think they did the voice stuff around the time they did Keanu.
That was like 6 fucking years ago.
Yeah, well, that's how long it takes to get animation done.
Yeah, but like it's still a long time.
I believe the story with Jordan Peele in terms of acting was he was almost cast in the Emoji Movie.
Yes.
As the poop emoji. And then he got a call from his agent that said he'd been replaced by Sir Patrick Stewart. And he was like, I don't need to do this anymore. Which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like Jordan Peele to you know, if he, I wouldn't mind him still acting a little bit. But if he doesn't want to do it, whatever.
Yeah, no, he's busy making the most thought-provoking, like audience-friendly horror films.
Yeah.
Since, like, fucking Jaws, I guess, and Alien.
I kind of just want to keep the acting door open, because I love when a director is acting in someone else's movie.
Yeah.
I love that, and you know who loves casting directors as actors in his movies?
A couple people, but are you going to say Steven Spielberg?
Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
And I know that him and Peele apparently have talked a few times.
Really? Oh my
Yeah.
god, those conversations must be incredible.
I guess the story I heard was... Hold on one second. The story I heard was that like they talked after Get Out had come out, and Spielberg told Peele to stick with Michael Abels as his composer forever. Was like, don't lose that guy. Like, and if the guy who worked with John Williams forever tells you that, you should fucking listen.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's cool that Spielberg's still like keeping an eye out for fucking young talent.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest, Nope is kind of a movie that made me be like, Jordan Peele might not be the next like John Carpenter. He might actually be the next Spielberg. Like, I don't want to like saddle him with that, but like I'm really excited for more Jordan Peele. So
Yeah, I'm glad you added that little asterisk, because it's like, I also want to say he's like I don't know about the Spielberg thing yet, but I haven't seen Nope. Everyone's been referring to that label recently, which is very exciting.
You know, I will say this:
Carpenter was kind of the guy we were falling back on for referencing him for sure.
Yeah, and like I said,
very funny. I just gotta say, because that dude was on Twitter like,
"Oh yeah,
man, is Jordan Peele the best horror director ever?" He's
was hard to watch.
And then everyone's like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Do you watch horror movies?" He's like, "Well, you know, John Carpenter, he did Halloween. Everything else is kind of a cult thing. I'm not really a fan of it. Rotten Tomatoes would agree." And then Jordan Peele just hops in and be like, "My guy, get off the phone, please. Stop. We're not doing Carpenter slander." And it's
Can you imagine being like, has anyone else had a better run than Jordan Peele? And like Carpenter, literally from like Assault on Precinct 13 to They Live, has like the greatest run of a horror director ever. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But
like, I'm just glad John Carpenter doesn't care about that shit, because like younger John Carpenter would have fucking gone in on that guy.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, he's in that interview, like, trash-talking Spielberg and, like, all these fucking other people. And he's like, I don't care for them. No.
He seems to trash-talk his peers, but I don't know if he'd go after a guy on Twitter ever.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. He's been, like, since basically retiring, he's been very open about, like, helping, not actively helping, but, like, vocally supporting other young filmmakers and stuff like that. When he's at, like, talks, I'm sure you can find these on YouTube too. He's like at college talks, and like, you know, everyone always asks like, what's the best advice you have for aspiring filmmakers? He's like, fucking take out the aspiring. Like, just you're doing it, you're doing it. Like, that's all it is. Like, just he gives a good pep talk is what I'm saying.
Yes.
I wonder if Henry Selick would give a good pep talk. I've never heard him talk before.
Like I said, I honestly, the DVD I got was $3. It was worth it for the commentary. It's honestly like a very insightful commentary into the filmmaking process. It offers very little insight into the actual film Monkey Bone. But I will say, Meg and Dan seem to have figured something out from all this that I have no fucking idea. So, good for them.
Yeah. I'm gonna ask them if they would like their Twitters promoted so people can listen to fans of Monkey Bone talk about Monkey Bone, or have more insight into the actual Monkey Bone universe, I guess.
Hey,
yeah.
I got one more thing to drop.
Yes.
One more really fun fact. So there's a weird sequence in this that I've never understood, where Stu, when Monkey Bone takes over his body, he gets thrown into a prison, and he's in a prison with a bunch of people that, like, if the goal is what is supposed to be going on, doesn't make sense for this group of people to be there. It's like Jack the Ripper, who introduces himself as Jack, even though Jack the Ripper is literally just a name people gave an unidentified man. So it doesn't make any sense. Lizzie Borden, she murdered her family. Attila the Hun, Rasputin, Typhoid Mary, and Stephen King. And the unifying thing is supposed to be that these people cause nightmares. And literally the only one there I think you could make that argument for is Stephen King.
Yeah.
So Stephen King was gonna play himself in this. And I'll give credit. I don't know who the actor is playing him. He does a fucking great Stephen King. So Stephen King was gonna play himself. He was gung-ho to do it. But something happened 2 weeks before the movie started filming. Do you know what that is?
I don't actually.
Stephen King got hit by a van.
Oh my god.
The famous story of Stephen King nearly getting killed by a fucking crazy guy driving to get Mars bars or some shit at a gas station.
Oh my god.
Happened 2 weeks before Monkey Bone started filming.
Wow. The universe had to stop him.
Yeah, it saved him.
I don't know about that. That's
No,
we're lucky
it
to
did.
still have him.
We're lucky. Yeah, he describes that incident in his memoir on writing, which is a really interesting book because it's like mostly a book about like writing advice, but it's also like the only time he's really gone in about like his life. And it's like, here's the stuff I can remember from my life. He describes like looking at his body and realizing like his legs are shifted over incorrectly after he's been hit, and like he's also like, there's a gap in memory here. I'm walking over the hill. Next thing I remember is a van window coming directly at me, and then I'm on the ground. And he's like, I don't remember anything else that happens between that. So he got fucking hit hard by that van.
Not to make a joke in bad taste on this podcast, but where the fuck was this guy in 2019?
Hey.
Yeah.
Who did we want to get hit by a van?
Stephen King.
Oh, what did he do? I didn't
Get him out of chapter 2.
Oh, alright.
Yeah.
Okay. That took a minute.
No, sorry about that. I could have rephrased that
Do
better.
you see how
Whatever.
fucking frail King is, though? Like, King's fucking frail these days. Like, he can get hit by, like, a bicyclist and, like, he's gone. So,
Maybe you're right. Maybe he's doomed to appear in bad adaptations of his work instead of the good ones.
Also, if you want to know where this guy was in 2019, the driver of the car, he was dead.
Apologies.
He died, like, a few years later after hitting King on Stephen King's birthday.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
That's kind of perfect.
So, King also bought the van and smashed it with a hammer.
Oh, is it to, like, stop scalpers or something?
He said it was to stop it from ending up on eBay, and the other was just to take out his anger on it.
You know what?
So,
Good for him. I feel like that's kind of the energy I want to have when I'm that age.
yes, King's an interesting guy.
Yeah.
Very, very, like, centrist lib, especially on Twitter.
But like, as an artist, I'm such a big fan, you know?
Yeah. It's
Even
gonna be
with
sad
his-
when it'll be a sad day when he leaves. Even,
Yeah.
like, though I haven't read a Stephen King book, like, when it was new, in, I think, over 10 years at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I still, like, check him out, and it'll be sad, even if his stuff isn't the best.
Yeah.
But he's got a dark fantasy novel coming up called Fairy Tale.
Is
So
it about fairy tales?
I assume.
Okay.
It's 608 pages long. How the fuck does this guy, even now, like, he hasn't slowed down and he hasn't been doing cocaine for years. Like, how the fuck is he still writing these books?
I don't know, but I fucking admire it, because it's some fucking hard to write sometimes.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, I'm writing screenplays. He's writing novels.
Yeah.
Not that one's more difficult than the other, but novels, there's no similar spacing. That covers the entire page.
And
the
also,
text.
famously large novels. Novels so big, someone dropped one on their dog once and killed it.
Is that real? That's fucking sad.
That's a story, apparently. Someone dropped a copy of It on their dog, I think, and killed it.
Oh, that's real sad. My apologies
Yeah.
to that person.
Sorry to that man. But like think about that. And he turns them out like once a year.
Yeah, you
Like,
know,
that's
on
crazy.
that level, you basically don't even have to make good stuff anymore as long as people buy it. And I'm not saying his quality is dipped. I haven't read a Stephen King novel in a while either. But, like, good for him, you know?
He's, and, like, the average page count is, like, 400 pages. Like, that's crazy. That means he has to write more than one full page a day.
Mm-hmm. You know, and then sometimes I'm like, let me write the.
Yeah.
The. And sometimes that does help. Sometimes just writing a single sentence, I'm like, okay, and then this, and then this, therefore this.
If I lock myself in a room and tell myself to write a single page, I can do it, but it might take me all day. Like, I can do it, though. So...
What I started doing was stop giving myself page counts. I would just be like, just write for 15 minutes. It always lasts longer than 15 minutes.
And then that fucker, Stephen King, he has the balls in his on writing book to be like, hey, if you can't find time to read, you shouldn't write. Like, you need to be able to find time to read if you want to be a writer. It's like, that's part of the job. And I'm like, how the fuck do you have time to read and write?
Yeah, see, here's the thing. I think there was some discourse about this recently.
Yeah, there was, something blew up about that.
And I would kind of agree that, like, well, wouldn't you want to read more if you're going to write? Like, it's like watching movies. Like, if you want to make movies, don't you want to, like, watch them to understand them? But it's not, like, a deal breaker for me either.
Yeah.
I definitely like doing it. But, yeah, the big question is, how does he have time for that? What the fuck? Does he sleep?
I'm starting to think
he eat?
Stephen King might actually have dark powers.
Yeah, I mean, if the guy died on his fucking birthday.
Yeah, like there's that, and he's still writing, and like he doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. He lived long enough to live to see the reboot of all of his work.
Yeah, wow. I didn't think about that.
I've lived through like 2 Stephen King renaissances in my life. Like, that's crazy.
I wonder what Stephen King thinks of Monkey Bone.
He probably saw it. He used to run a column in Entertainment Weekly, where he would review movies, and he did that classic thing of like he picked really silly. He picked a lot of schlock at like his best of the year list, and it was a fascinating insight into what Stephen King likes.
Yeah.
He'd be like, No Country for Old Men, and also like this zombie movie that 5 people saw. That was a great column. I don't think he does it anymore, but I used to read it, and it was really, really entertaining.
Maybe I'll track it down. I'm gonna tweet him. Be like, what's your favorite movie of the year?
I guess he's been feuding with the governor of Maine.
Nice.
Or at least former governor. Is he still governor? No, he lost in 2019. Yeah. Guy accused King of not paying taxes, and King said that he was lying. And said he demanded that LePage man up and apologize.
Well.
King called LePage a bigot, a homophobe, and a racist.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. When King gets pissed, he gets fucking pissed.
Yeah, that's what I kind of like about him.
The sad thing is, though, he is kind of like centrist. Like, I remember him being like, when Bernie looked like he might win the primaries, like, he was like, look, I don't dislike Bernie, but, like, the last time we nominated a guy like that, it was Jimmy Carter. And I was like, come on, man.
Yeah, I hate that shit, too.
Come on.
But then he also has this fun trend of being, like watching, like, the most random shows. So he'd, like, hype up The Walking Dead, obviously.
Yeah.
I think he's part of the reason Stranger Things took off, because he tweeted
100%.
very highly of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is doing his stuff along with Spielberg.
It's the fucking Stephen King font. Like,
yeah. Well, it's the John Carpenter font.
I thought it was the Stephen King font.
No, it's Carpenter. It's Carpenter. Or maybe it's a mix of both. I don't know. The theme is a ripoff of the Only God Forgives music. It's like it's the whole show is a smorgasbord. It just happens to be a really good one. And then he also used to tweet about The 100, a show I have talked very highly of.
He loved The 100. He loved Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, he was in it. He was in an episode.
Showed up on the show.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, Stephen King shows up in weird places, so he should be an actor based on Creepshow. That performance in Creepshow is amazing.
Yeah, Creepshow, the movie I've seen.
Yeah, you fuck. How have you still not watched it?
Well, you know.
There is, like, a not, like, great with an asterisk, you know, fucking George A. Romero, Stephen King collaboration sitting out there for you to watch any fucking day now, and you just haven't gotten to it.
Alright, I'm gonna watch Creepshow before Halloween.
Watch it, like, tonight, motherfucker.
I'm gonna try to watch Nope tonight. So,
Alright.
And you know what? Well, yeah, no, I will add the little bit at the end for us to talk about the specific reference you wanted to bring up with Nope and Monkey Bone when we record next time. So I'll have context
Sure.
for it and I'll add it into the episode.
I don't think I need to bring up anything. I think everyone knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay, it's just me. 'Cause I haven't
Yeah,
seen
it's
it.
literally just you. Everyone's laughing at you right now.
Okay, never mind then. I will not be doing that, and then I'll report back later.
Yeah, but you should watch Creepshow. And I was going to say, you know what this movie kind of reminded me of, and I only just thought of it because a review floated across my letterbox page. Tim and Eric's $1 billion movie.
I haven't seen that either.
Did you ever see that?
No.
And I say this as like the biggest Tim and Eric fan. Like, that movie just doesn't work. Like, it's kind of a mess. But they're trying a lot. And so it's admirable in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of a mess. And I feel very similarly about Tim and Eric's $1 billion movie as I do about Monkey Bone. And I guess, you know what? I think I said the movie's bad. I don't even know if I want to say it. It's just a mess. Like, I honestly kind of, like, admire it. But it's not a movie I'm going to be revisiting or, like, referencing that much. You know?
Yeah. It's I can't really recommend it. If you stumble upon it, it might not be the worst thing ever. I didn't like it at all.
Let me see what people are saying on Letterboxd, other than Dan Doherty.
It's like a lot of 1 stars and
Is it?
1.5 stars. Yeah.
See, I don't know if I'd go that. Like, I'm not sitting here being like, this is fucking garbage. But
I'd probably do the Ebert one at 1.5 stars.
yeah, you know what? No, I would give this movie 3 stars, but no like. Because I just admire a lot of what's going on in it, but I don't think any of it works. So, Dan Doherty, whatever you see in this movie, go write it. Because it'll be better. Don't give up on that fucking dream of being a fucking filmmaker.
Yeah, Dan.
Yeah.
Get out there.
What are you going to be, a fucking accountant or some shit? Fuck that.
Yeah.
Fucking
We're not going to need
account for
accountants
this.
in the future.
Yeah.
When everything's owned by Amazon and the
When
Walt
we're in
Disney
the
Corporation.
Thunderdome.
Monkey Bone could have been
Monkey
in Mad Max
Bone.
Thunderdome.
Yeah. They would erase Monkey Bone. That's the thing. Whenever, like, these fascists take over, like, Monkey Bone gets erased for being too horny. Which, in that point, we have to defend it.
Yeah.
We have to take a fucking bullet for Monkey Bone.
This is for you, Monkey Bone.
This is for you, Monkey Bone.
Just start shredding on a guitar in the Upside Down. Oh, you haven't seen the fucking new season, huh?
What?
Of Stranger Things.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet.
Fuck.
I keep almost watching it. Whatever references, I didn't listen to what you were saying.
Okay,
So
yeah,
you
that's
didn't
fine.
spoil anything. But I keep almost watching it, and then I see that fucking pizza ad for where they're like, "What if you ordered pizza with your mind?" And I'm like, I don't need to watch this.
Look, you do. It's if you liked most of Stranger Things, you're gonna like this one.
But I didn't like most. I liked Stranger Things season 1, and then I had like every other season I've watched and been like, okay, I guess that's Stranger Things.
No, season 3 was the
It was
shit.
better than 2,
Significantly better than 2.
but not like.
I've seen people defend the second season a lot more lately, and I'm like, what's wrong with all of you?
I think I'm having kind of like a similar like Marvel moment where I'm just like, they're all kind of the same quality. Like,
No, I would not
Stranger
agree
Things
with that.
1 was just good because it was new.
I would not agree with that.
My sister also like started Stranger Things 4 without me, and she stopped talking about it. So I don't know.
All right, you're. I think you're genuinely missing out now.
Okay.
Because I've enjoyed most of it, but this season kind of hit me. I was like, oh shit, I kind of love this show.
Here's the real question. Would I get whatever is you think is in Stranger Things season 4? Would I get the same value out of watching a number of 80s movies that just equal the same amount of time as the full season?
No.
You don't think there's a group of 80s films out there that are
No,
doing...
I think the closest you're going to get is, like, there's very obvious Nightmare on Elm Street references here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're very clearly doing, like, Freddy Krueger upside down. And I'm like, yeah, all right, that's a good idea. And I think it came into its own this year in a way it hasn't really before. Where it's been consistently entertaining when it wasn't frustrating, season 2. And I got very emotionally fulfilled by this season. And I hadn't ever gotten that before with this show.
And
That's
you're not
my
just
big
saying
takeaway.
that, and you're not just saying that because the world is awful.
The world is awful. That's unrelated to how much I loved this season.
Okay.
I think it is hands down at least the most, like, impressive. I thought the long run times, because I know that's what everyone complains about, I thought it was going to be a problem. Apart from some table setting in the beginning of the season, I thought it moved fucking wonderfully. I thought it was just a fantastic season of television.
All right.
So, and I'm more concerned now for the last season because I'm like, you better fucking stick that landing because I'm going to bat hard on this year. So,
All right. Well, here's what we're gonna do, motherfucker. You're gonna watch Creepshow,
okay,
and then when you finish it, text me, and then I will start Stranger Things season 4.
that's fair. Okay,
So that's when it happens. You're gonna fucking watch Creepshow.
that's fair. Everyone listening, you got that?
There's the deal that was just made just now.
Yeah. We'll see how long it takes for us to get to both. So, all right, Monkey Bone, Matt.
Monkey Bone.
Would you recommend it still?
Oh yeah.
All right.
It's so weird. It's like not good, but I'm also like, there's kind of nothing else I can think of like it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Also, it has been fun trying to Google Monkey Bone, and the first thing that comes up every time now is fucking monkeypox.
Oh, I know.
Like-
That's fucking upsetting.
Yeah. Great fucking world we live in. Great fucking time.
We live in hell.
Well, I think the Walt Disney Company owns Monkey Bone now.
I don't know why that's so funny to me. Good luck monetizing that one.
Yeah, I think that might be why it's not on streaming, really.
They're like, let's just hide this shit.
Like, you have to rent it, but...
Yeah, just hide
They're
it
still
away.
they're still trying to make their money back.
Aww.
'Cause this movie inexplicably cost $75 million.
Well, here's the thing.
And-
Even if I thought this was the most hateful movie ever made, like, I still want people to have access to it, just because I believe all art should be, like, accessible.
No, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But it's just wow, this movie bombed.
Yeah.
So
That's Monkey Bone.
yep, I like Henry
Check
Selick a lot.
it out.
Like, this is his only real misfire for me.
Yeah, Henry Selick is terrific. I'm really excited for his upcoming film. I hope he's got more in the tank, too. I know it's been difficult for him to get stuff off the ground, but I'll be there for whatever he does. So,
Yeah.
thumbs up, Henry Selick. Really, Coraline's fucking incredible, though. Like, really.
Coraline's great. Yeah, watch Coraline.
Yeah.
Just think, if there is another Henry Selick movie you haven't seen, watch that before Monkey Bone. But
yeah,
then, check
maybe
Monkey
not
Bone
Moon
out.
Girl. Or,
Yeah.
check it out anyways and just be like, oh, Diego wasn't fucking joking. This is the scariest shit I've ever seen.
You know what? I didn't even really hate the look of Moon Girl.
Oh my god.
I know,
What?
I know, but I don't know. There's something interesting about that weird CGI.
I don't know. Finding those old YouTube shorts that were done on early CGI is fascinating. There's a whole like subset of like culture that was kind of lost just because of like the movement of time that I find really fascinating.
Well, you know why all that culture was lost.
Well, for a couple reasons. One being YouTube moved away from that into like brands.
Yeah, they rejiggered the algorithm to stop really promoting animated shorts,
Mm-hmm.
and basically killed a thriving animation community
Yeah.
that worked independently from studios.
But remember, there were even like just even original like short film stuff. Like horror short films used to be so popular. I mean, they still are very popular on YouTube, but not to the extent where they were getting filmmaking deals for the people that made them. That doesn't happen anymore. Lights Out, David F. Sandberg, right? That's his name.
Yeah.
Shazam guy. Yeah, he got started because his Lights Out short was like received so like wonderfully.
I bet you that's still happening somewhere, though.
Not to the extent. There's a couple Twitter pals I know that are doing some great short film work, and it's not just them. I've heard it's quite difficult now. Studios aren't really looking at that.
I think everything is really difficult right now, though.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Like, I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, but horror is still the most accessible way to get into the industry, apparently. So if you got a horror short film idea,
it's the only
Hop to
original
it.
genre that they're giving money towards.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
if you want to tell a story that's not based on some bullshit,
yeah,
you know, hey.
yeah. All right. Now, this is going to be a weird segue because the next couple episodes were recorded before this. So next up on our listen is True Romance.
Yeah.
No, that's a lie.
That's a lie, you fuck.
It's Emperor of the North.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Almost fucked that up. And if I did just fuck that up and reverse that, then it is True Romance.
Whatever. Both those episodes are coming.
Both those episodes are coming out. Both will be up on the Patreon by the time you listen to this. So go.
Yes.
Go now.
The magic of fucking podcasting.
Leave. Be gone. Matt, where can people find you?
I'm at Emperor OTN1 at twitter.com.
And you could find me at the Diego Crespo. Check out the Waffle Press on Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, and Patreon, where you can get early access to the stuff we just mentioned, and then honestly probably a couple more things. We got Jupiter sent. Well, I'm not going to list them off now. But we got some more in the tank, and then we'll be back next time with what I just talked about. I'm sorry. I'm looking at like the scheduling, and I'm like, why did I write it that way? So thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. If you didn't like anything here, like and subscribe anyways, because you might find something you do like. All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. We've been
All right, you can leave.
professional.
Goodbye. Get the fuck out.
Hey,
Go
goodbye,
watch
John.
Nope.
Goodbye, Jonathan Demme.
Goodbye, Judy Foster. That's how we should end every episode.
Stu?
Whoa, baby!
This spring, if it screams, if it swings, it's got to be
Drinks for everybody!
Monkey Bone. 20th Century Fox